Have you ever found yourself just relentlessly pushing? You're working harder than ever, draining your energy, trying to like voice solutions, and yet everything just feels like this uphill battle.
Oh, yeah.
It's that nagging feeling, right? Oh. Swimming against a really strong current, and you're convinced if I just push harder, try harder, force it more,
it has to work eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredibly common trap, isn't it?
Totally.
That deeply ingrained belief that sheer brute force or just more and more effort is always the answer. Our culture, well, it often celebrates the grind, almost demands struggle.
And what if that whole idea is actually, well, backwards? What if the reason things feel so incredibly hard isn't because you're not trying hard enough?
But because you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Or maybe just trying hard in the wrong way.
Exactly.
That's the really powerful, almost counterintuitive idea we're diving into today.
Okay.
This deep dive is all about getting clear on the difference between what we're calling productive effort and counterproductive force.
Productive effort versus counter. I like.
And, our source material today comes from this great YouTube video by the channel Night Drive. It's called Everything Becomes Easier When You Stop Forcing It.
Mm-hmm.
And they argue pretty convincingly, I think, that once you really get this different, well, everything can genuinely become easier.
And let's be clear, right? This isn't about giving up. It's not about being lazy or avoiding hard work. Not at all.
No, absolutely not.
It's about finding a smarter way, a more aligned way, a more effective path.
Yeah, think of it like this. You're at a door, you're pushing shoulder into it, grunting, getting absolutely nowhere.
Been there.
Right. Then you just happen to glance down and see a small sign. It says pull. Same door, same place you want to get to, but a completely different experience and a different result once you use the right kind of energy, the right approach.
That's a perfect way to frame it. So this deep dive is all coming from the insights in that one video.
That's right. It's our sole source today, and it really challenges us to question that default mode we often operate in.
And that default mode for so many of us is to push. We're kind of conditioned by a culture that, let's face it, really worships struggle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
We celebrate the grind, the hustle, pushing through obstacles. Like the difficulty itself is the point. Like it proves something.
And if something isn't working, the automatic reaction is just more effort. Dial it up.
Yeah, double down.
But that belief system, well, it sounds noble, often just locks us into these patterns of, unnecessary struggle. It's probably worth pausing right here and asking yourself, where are you currently trying to force things?
Good question.
Is it maybe a relationship that feels like constant hard work, like endless negotiation?
Or a job, a career path that just drains your soul instead of, lighting you up.
Or maybe even personal problems, things that just seem to get more tangled the harder you try to wrestle them into submission.
It's interesting because if you just step back for a second and look at nature, it operates on a completely different principle, doesn't it?
Fundamentally different.
Yeah. When you keep hitting resistance, maybe it's not a signal push harder. Maybe it's a hint you're pushing in the wrong direction.
Nature gives us such clear examples here.
Yeah.
I mean, water doesn't try to force its way through solid rock, right?
Right.
It finds the path of least resistance. It flows around obstacles. And over time, that consistent yielding movement carves whole canyons.
Wow. Yeah.
Trees don't force their roots through concrete. They grow towards the light, towards nutrients. They adapt, find leverage. But we humans, somehow we've convinced ourselves that struggle is noble and ease is suspicious.
Lazy, even. Or that if something comes naturally, it can't be that valuable.
Exactly. We get really suspicious of things that feel effortless. Like struggle itself is the price of admission for anything worthwhile.
Okay, so that brings us to the core distinction then. What exactly separates force from flow? Let's define those.
Okay, so when you're operating from force, it feels like you're always pushing uphill. Yeah, it's marked by tension, resistance, that feeling of struggle, and just exhaustion. It's that fighting the world feeling where every single step is a battle.
Got it. And flow.
Flow feels completely different. It's like moving with a current.
Yeah, okay.
You experience ease, real momentum, clarity, and actually, energy feels energizing. When you're in flow, things seem to unfold more naturally. Opportunities pop up. Solutions emerge without all that strain and friction.
Now, that's important, though. Flow doesn't mean effortless, right? It's not like you do nothing.
Exactly. That's a critical point. It means effective effort. There's still work involved, absolutely. But it's work that builds momentum. It leverages natural energy instead of fighting against it.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. I had this experience. It was so clear trying to fix a rusted bolt on my old bike. My first approach, pure brute force. Grabbed the biggest wrench I had, twisted like crazy for maybe 20 minutes, grunting, straining, putting my whole body into it.
As a result.
A totally stripped bolt head, a wrench that was practically bent, and just a mountain of frustration.
Classic counterproductive force. You're pouring in massive energy, but the outcome isn't just zero progress. You actually made it worse.
Totally.
And this isn't just about fixing bikes, is it? It's about recognizing that our instinct to just ramp up the effort often comes from, well, misunderstanding how things actually respond. Mechanical things, psychological things.
It really challenges that whole idea of hard work, just meaning more work.
Right. So what happened with the bolt?
Well, the aha moment came when my neighbor wandered over, saw me struggling, and just calmly suggested using penetrating oil.
Ah, the magic stuff.
Right. Just spray it on, let it sit for 10 minutes, and honestly, the idea of doing less work, of just waiting, felt totally wrong to my more forced brain.
Counterintuitive.
Completely. But I was desperate, so I tried it. Sprayed it, waited 10 minutes, and that bolt turned with almost zero F, spun right out. It completely shifted my... Sometimes the answer isn't more force, it's a totally different approach. Maybe even a jump.
And that leads us right into the why. Why do we get stuck in these patterns? Why default to force, even when it's clearly, like in your case, not working or making things worse?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, a big part of it is the ego. See, our ego often kind of hates flow because it loves force.
Really? Why?
Struggle feels heroic to the ego. Difficulty feels important. Ease feels, well, almost too easy, like you said earlier. Cheap, maybe.
Yeah, like you didn't earn it properly if you didn't suffer for it.
Precisely. Our culture reinforces that constantly. Be suspicious of anything that comes easily. So the ego prefers that feeling of striving, of hard-won battles.
Okay, that makes a weird kind of sense. But psychologically, what's happening when we get stuck forcing? What makes us double down when an approach is failing?
So there's this fascinating concept in psychology and even neuroscience called the ironic process theory.
Ironic process theory. Okay.
Yeah, basically, psychologists define it as this phenomenon where deliberately trying to suppress certain thoughts or avoid certain behaviors actually, paradoxically, makes them happen more.
Oh.
From a brain perspective, when you tell your attentional system don't do X, it first has to think about X to know what not to do, which of course brings X right to the front of your mind.
Yeah.
It's almost like a glitch in our conscious control.
That makes total sense. Like the classic example, don't think about a white elephant.
And immediately.
There it is. Big white floppy ears. Or trying super hard not to be nervous before a presentation.
Makes you more nervous?
Or forcing yourself to fall asleep. The harder you try,
the more wide awake you become.
Sure.
Exactly. Or even socially, trying really hard to make someone like you often just feels awkward and pushes them away.
or it feels desperate.
It does. And your brain and nervous system are actually wired to detect and respond to force with resistance. It's a basic survival thing.
Like pushing against something pushes back.
Exactly. And this applies even to your relationship with yourself. When you try to force change just through sheer willpower, your own mind, your psyche, eventually pushes back. It rebels. You can maintain it for a while maybe, but it's rarely sustainable long term. That's why so many diets fail spectacularly, why New Year's resolutions often fade by February. That internal resistance is incredibly powerful. You can't just bully yourself into lasting.
Oh, I know this one firsthand. My failed morning routine experiment.
Go on.
I'd read all these articles, successful people waking at 5 a.m., meditation, exercise, journaling, deep work, all before breakfast. Sounded amazing.
The perfect routine.
Right. So I decided, that's it. I'm doing that. And I forced it. For about 2 weeks, I dragged myself out of bed in the dark, fought through meditation where my brain was just chaos, pushed through workouts that felt like pure punishment, journaled stuff that meant nothing just to tick the box. It was awful. By week 3, I was hitting snooze like my life depended on it.
Yeah.
My body actively resisted getting up. I had basically created this huge negative association with the very routine I wanted.
Exactly. Your brain was sabotaging it because it felt like pure force.
Yeah.
You weren't working with yourself at all.
Right. So eventually, I stopped, and I asked myself a different question. What would make me actually excited to get up?
Good question. And the answer.
Surprisingly simple. Reading with a good cup of coffee while it's totally quiet. That was it.
Okay. So you started there.
Just that. Just reading and coffee, no pressure for meditation, exercise, none of it. Just something I genuinely look for.
And what happened? What did that little shift unlock?
Well, within a week, I was naturally waking up earlier because I wanted that quiet reading time. It wasn't a fight anymore.
Interesting.
And after a few weeks of just establishing that one enjoyable habit, adding 5 minutes of meditation felt natural. Then some light stretching.
Right.
Then journaling. It built organically. Same goal, totally different path. Built around energy and ease, not force.
That's a perfect example of finding the flow within your own life, your own rhythm. So, okay, for everyone listening, how do we apply this? How do we move from forcing to flowing? The source material actually gives a pretty practical 4-step framework. It calls it the path of least resistance.
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1.
Step 1 is simply notice where you're forced to start paying attention. Become aware of those areas in your life that feel like a constant slog, where you feel like you're swimming upstream, hitting that wall again and again, despite putting in loads of effort.
And crucially, this isn't about giving up on things that are hard.
Not at all. It's about recognizing when your approach itself is creating unnecessary friction and resistance.
Got it. Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is to ask better questions. So instead of the usual, how can I force this to work? Try asking something different, like, what wants to emerge here?
What wants to emerge? I like that.
Or instead of, how can I make this happen? Maybe ask, what's the natural next step? And instead of getting stuck in, why is this so damn hard? Try asking, what am I not seeing? Or even just, is there an easier way? A more aligned way.
Better questions lead to better answers, hopefully. What's step 3?
Step 3, experiment with ease. Now, this is where it gets really counterintuitive for a lot of us.
Okay.
The idea is to deliberately try approaching your challenge with, say, 50% less force. And I need to stress, that's not 50% less commitment or care.
Right.
It's 50% less forcing energy, less tension, less pushing.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you're trying to improve a tricky relationship, and your usual method is intense, difficult conversations that always seem to end badly.
Yeah.
Experimenting with ease might mean trying to improve it through genuine appreciation first, or shared positive experience, less direct force, more creating positive energy. Or maybe in business, instead of aggressive, pushy marketing, you try building through really generous service and valuable content first. Less force, more traction.
Okay, that makes sense. 50% less force, not 50% less effort overall. And the last step.
Step 4 is follow the energy. Pay really close attention to what gives you energy versus what drains it.
Like physically or mentally?
Both. What feels expansive, like it opens things up,
Oh.
versus what feels contractive, like it shuts things down. What creates momentum, even small momentum, versus what just creates more resistance.
So it's about being tuned in.
Exactly. And again, this doesn't mean you only ever do fun, easy things, but it means being really strategic about when and how you engage with the difficult stuff. Look for the points of leverage, the points of alignment, the times when it feels less like forcing and more like flowing.
Let's make this concrete. I had a friend, Lisa. She wanted to be a successful content creator. For 2 years, she poured everything into being a blogger.
Okay.
Posting daily, obsessing over SEO, spending hours trying to engage on social media, working incredibly hard.
Sounds like force.
Total force, minimal results. She described it exactly as pushing a boulder uphill, all day, every day, drained.
Okay, so applying the framework. Step 1, noticing where she was forced. Clear sign, constant struggle, poor result, feeling drained.
Exactly. Then one day, a coworker just casually mentioned, you're really good at explaining complex stuff in meetings. Have you ever thought about podcasting? Lisa hadn't, but something about it just clicked. It felt interesting, easier somehow.
So that's step 2, asking better questions, maybe prompted externally. What wants to emerge here? Not forcing blogging, but exploring her gift for communication. And maybe step 4, following the energy. That little spark of interest.
Totally. So she decided to experiment with ease. That's step 3. Started just one simple podcast episode a week, focused on having interesting conversations, explaining things the way she naturally did.
And the outcome.
Within 6 months, she'd built a bigger, way more engaged audience than 2 years of forced blogging ever did. The work was still there. Prepping, recording, editing takes time, but it felt different. Energizing, not draining. She found the medium that fit her, worked with her strength.
That's a fantastic example. And we see the same pattern in other areas, right? Like health. I had another friend, David, trying to lose weight. His approach, super restrictive diet, brutal workout plan he hated.
The forcing approach to health.
Textbook. Forcing himself to eat bland food. Forcing himself through workouts that felt like torture. It was after 3 months. Yeah, he lost some weight, but he was absolutely miserable. Constant cravings, fighting himself, then inevitably giving in and binging.
That classic cycle. Force, resistance, rebellion, then more force.
Exactly. Then he shifted. Instead of forcing deprivation, he focused on adding healthy foods he actually enjoyed, foods that made him feel good.
Additive, not subtractive.
Right?
Yeah.
And instead of punishing workouts, he started with activities he genuinely liked, hiking with his dog, playing basketball with friends, even dancing. He started with eat. He lost more weight, felt way less stressed, and crucially, he developed a sustainable relationship with food and movement. No more constant battle. It wasn't about willpower anymore. It was about finding enjoyable pattern.
It really highlights the deeper truth here, doesn't it? Right. When you're constantly forcing things, maybe you're operating from fear.
I think that's often at the root of fear that things won't work out if you don't push constantly. Fear that ease means you're being lazy or slacking off. Maybe even a deeper fear that if you're not struggling, you don't really deserve success.
Wow, that hits home.
But when you learn to work with natural forces, with your own energy, with the situation, instead of just against it, you shift. You start operating from a place of trust. Trust in your own wisdom, maybe. Trust in timing, that not everything needs to happen right now. Trust that solutions can emerge organically if you create the right conditions, rather than trying to manufacture them through sheer will.
So this isn't about becoming passive, not at all.
No, definitely not passive. It's about becoming way more strategic about where and how you apply your energy. Smarter effort.
It makes me think of Like a master martial artist?
Good analogy.
They don't usually win fights through just brute force, do they? They win by using their opponent's energy, finding leverage, being incredibly strategic and adaptable. It's intelligence and timing over just raw power.
Precise. And that same principle applies everywhere. The most successful people often aren't just the ones who work the absolute hardest in terms of sheer hours or brute force. They're the ones who work most intelligently.
They find ways to align their efforts.
Exactly. Align with natural forces, with their own strengths, with the market, whatever it is, instead of constantly fighting against the current. That might mean changing careers to align with your talents, like Lisa, or changing your approach to relationships to focus on connection instead of pursuit, or always looking for the elegant solution to a problem, not just the most forceful.
So, wrapping up this deep dive then, the core message seems to be everything really can become easier when you stop.
Yeah. And that's not because you suddenly care less or try less overall.
Right. It's because you approach it more wise, more strategic, more in tune with how things and how you act.
So maybe a little challenge for you listening this week.
Let's hear it.
Pick just one area of your life where you know you've been forcing things, where you feel that constant resistance.
Just one.
Just one. And for the next 7 days, consciously try to approach that area with curiosity instead of force. Apply that 50% less foresight. Instead of asking, how can I make this happen? Try asking, what wants to happen here? What's the path of least resistance feel like?
And maybe the really provocative thought to leave you with is this. What if the biggest resistance you're facing isn't actually coming from the outside world?
What if it's coming from your own deep-seated belief that struggle itself is what defines your effort or even your worth? Just think about how letting go of that just a little bit, how that small shift might transform your whole experience of effort, success, and maybe even just feeling good about how you move through the world.